pleasure to drop in with all of you and talk about cord cutting. It's a topic that comes up quite frequently, especially when we're discussing release work or any kind of healing process that involves letting go of the past or letting go of a particular connection. You don't have to in any way limit cord cutting work to just people in your life, though. It can also be attachments you have to your trauma, to a place and time when you were going through a lot of grief or suffering that you want to not have so much of a pull on you anymore. There's many different means of cutting cords, and I actually don't really cut cords. And so this is why I wanted to bring this piece in and share how I cut the cords. And I work with many different traditions. I am initiated on the third road, which is a path of the craft, and it's considered Celtic fairy shamanism. I also work a lot with different methods of my ancestors. I have Comanche lineage, so that's something that really speaks to me. And I've always felt drawn to the Orishas. And I've done some work with Louise Atish, who is an amazing Yoruba priestess, and she wrote a book called Jambalaya, and she has an online school where she teaches in the Africa diaspora traditions, and that school's called the Crossroads. So do check her out. I'm not here to teach that, you know. I'm not here to teach that. I just can point a finger for those who are interested in exploring that. I want to give respect where it's due, and I have big love and respect for Ye T. She's an amazing teacher, and if you want to learn about those traditions, you can't do any better than going and spending some time with Louisa Tish. Let me tell you, okay? She has so much wisdom to pass on, not only from um, her initiation into the tradition of the Orishas um, through the Yoruba lineage, but also to hoodoo and the roots of that in New Orleans and the line of Marie Laveau. Okay, so she's an amazing woman, and she's doing a lot of really great work with another Kahuna, Leilani, who I know because she did some performance for a show I put on called The Red Thread. I produced a show called The Red Thread where it was something we would do for the Goddess Crafts Festival, and we would bring in all kinds of meaningful performances. And she brought in some gorgeous hula to that show. But she's done work with Louisa to write these wonderful books. I can't remember the name of the book, but they wrote a book where they were showing how the Orishas connect to other gods and goddesses of other traditions. And so it was really showing the ways that we are all interconnected, as opposed to always having this focus on how we're so different. It's so much about that right now, you know, finding the points of connection. It's so important that we move more into a unity consciousness. And yes, there's things to heal, right? There's traumas, and there's generational traumas, and there's things that we need to address and um, make right, you know, do right by. And all of this is so important, but it's also so essential that we come from a place of really understanding that we're all interconnected with each other. So I love that Leilani and Louisa Tish are doing that work to show how these different spiritual traditions actually have connecting points. And I just think it's really beautiful work. But anyway, I have a lot of different backgrounds that I pull from, and of course also I bring a lot in around Eastern Indian mysticism as well, because I I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, so it's a big part of my life, a big part of my path. I don't like to limit myself, and that's why I chose the third road as my path, because it's very wild and open and free and eclectic, and I don't really go by rules, and I go by what feels right in my bones, what resonates with my heart, and I let spirit, as I relate to it, lead me where I need to go, and I trust that, so I'm just here to share a little bit of all of it with all of you, but I've learned from some amazing teachers in many different traditions, and I've first, I didn't understand why I was so drawn to so many different spiritual paths and cross cultural paths. But once I started doing Panchakarma work, it really made sense, because you're there to help a person connect with their soul's essence, and come back home within themselves, reconnect with their roots, their strength, and their healing. It's a homecoming. And not everybody comes from India, and not everybody has the same spiritual traditions. And so it's been really beautiful to learn different ways to work with people, where when I do Panchakarma, I can honor their traditions. We can bring in elements that are in alignment with their traditions, and it's been really a very beautiful, beautiful experience. So anyway, I wanted to share some of these methods with you that I learned through the teachers that worked with me and that were passed down to me. So if you were drawn to tune in for this, this is for you. I am recording this for those who are going through our 40-day Own Your Fire community Panchakarma, and you can jump in on that anytime you want. You can jump in right now in live time. We're going through it live, but the playlist is always going to remain up. And if you're curious about it, just scroll down on the homepage here at Broad Coven, and you'll see all of it organized there for you under a playlist. And you can jump in at any time. And even if you're just curious and you want to explore it, you're welcome to do that too. So, first thing I want to say about cord cutting, before we dive into particulars, is it's very important with cord cutting, before you take up a working like this, that you are certain you are ready to let go. You have to really be ready to let go, you know? Um, Holding that space of emotional readiness, spiritual readiness is key. It's key. If you are not ready to let it go, I'm getting sentient, so somebody needs to hear this message. If you are not ready to go, if you are not ready to go, some of you actually may be corded into others, and you need to let them go. It can still work both ways, okay? Some of you may feel that you got outside energy corded into you, and others of you have energy corded into another. And in the case of soul retrieval, sometimes it kind of works both ways. You can develop an attachment to energy that gets corded into you. And then it's like a codependent connection. It can go pretty deep, this topic, of cord cutting. So how do cords form in the first place? Well, usually through some kind of trauma, frequently, you know. Um, if you've been through a serious trauma in your life, you could have an energetic cord attached to that time and space, that incident, and it continually plays out in your biology, really. You know, it goes to the physical, absolutely. It's all interconnected, but also in your thought patterns, that can play out as PTSD, where you're continually going over the same loops, reliving memories over and over and over again, not knowing how to, connect with new neural pathways, not knowing how to release attachment to the story and kind of going over what happened again and again and again. And sometimes people experience things that were just so horrific, so horrific that it's really hard for them to get free of that. Sometimes they need support. Cord cutting can be helpful in those cases. But I don't really view it as cord cutting work. I view it as extraction work. In fact, I view all cord cutting as extraction work. I use the term cord cutting because it's something that everybody can relate to. Most people have heard that term. Not everybody has heard the term extraction work. So I'm going to be discussing that tonight. And you may wonder what I'm holding here, but it's this wand. It's got this arrowhead sitting on the top here, and there's a beautiful tiger's iron on this side. So pretty. And I just love this. I love the way it feels. It's got buckskin, It's really, really nice piece. This is very good for cord cutting work, extraction work. As is this. I use this sometimes too. This was given to me by a dear friend. I call her Arbibo. Gave me this. It's a hair ornament, but it's perfect for this kind of work. And it has the Cobra on it, and I love Cobra medicine. I work with Cobra medicine a lot in the work that I do. Cobras have been coming to me in my dreams ever since I can remember. I remember dreams, 1 year old, cobras coming to me in my dreams. And I was scared of snakes, deathly afraid of snakes for so long, just terrified of snakes. And then I finally decided it was time for me to get over my fear because I kept having these cobras come to me in my dreams. And I felt like this is a medicine that's wanting to connect with me. So I can't continue to be afraid of it. I have to understand why this is coming through. And I felt it was really important for me to connect with the actual serpent. And I mean, I used to just really freak out if there was even a snake in the vicinity. It didn't even need to be anywhere near me. I would freak out. I think a lot of that has to do with my mom also was really scared of snakes. And I always saw her have that reaction to them. And I think it kind of like just is something I kind of took on as my own fear. But I actually did get the opportunity to hold a snake, and her name was Khaleesi. And Khaleesi had epilepsy. And because she had epilepsy, it made her a little different in how she functioned. She was more slow and more gentle. And I got to hold her. I got to hold her, and she was just so sweet. She wanted to come to me, and so she started to come over to me from the woman who was holding her, and she slowly came onto my arm, and she wrapped herself around this wrist and my other wrist. So I was like this, and she was wrapped around my wrists in an infinity symbol. And then she just rested her head here, and she just let her head hang, and she stayed completely still. And I learned this amazing thing as I was sitting there. I felt like at one with her energy, and it felt so beautiful and yet so potent and powerful at the same time. And what I really learned holding Khaleesi, holding this python, she's beautiful. She's like white, and she had these yellow markings, so gorgeous. She was beautiful. I always thought they were beautiful, even though I was afraid of them. I always thought that they were beautiful. And it was so strange when she reached out from Kyla, who was holding her, and she started coming towards me, and Kyla said, she wants to come to you. Is it okay? And I said, yeah, I guess. Before I knew it, I have this python is wrapping itself around my wrist. But once she started coming towards me, I entered a different time. Time changed. And this is the one thing that I really learned about snake medicine is that it's so much about presence and stillness. Snakes are very sensitive to vibration, very, very sensitive to frequency. They're low to the ground. They can feel things coming from a mile away. So it's a medicine that actually can make you, very aware, very aware, you know. They got those eyes, just like that seahorse download I got recently. They got those eyes. I'm just realizing this, forming a connection. They have those eyes on either side of their head, which gives them the ability to see all around them. And to work with snake medicine, you can't go fast, man. You got to go slow. You have to move into the subtleties, you know? Everything's slow. Deep, deep listening and responding with snake medicine. You can feel when you hold them, you can feel that they're just energetically responding to every little teeny tiny, the most subtle of movement, the most subtle of sensation. And they bring you into this beautiful, timeless space. Timeless. And she just laid there. She was like so loving and sweet. She just laid there. It's like she knew that that was exactly what I needed, was just for her to be still. And I just closed my eyes. I remember at first there was like that part, right? The fear part. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I got a python wrapped around my wrist. But then I said, you know what? Just allow yourself to have this experience. And so I dropped my resistance and I closed my eyes. And I just felt like my consciousness merged with hers. And it felt like a real deep healing for me. And ever since then, I have not been afraid of snakes. And I've held snakes multiple times since then. You know, I'm a belly dancer, so I belly dance and I've also done burlesque, but I'm been part of the belly dance community, and there's always snakes around in the belly dance community. People dance with snakes all the time. So that was also one of the reasons why I was like, I feel like I should maybe, get comfortable being around snakes, not be so afraid. But I never knew that holding one would have that effect on me, or that it would teach me such valuable lesson. And it was so healing. It was just so healing. So, you know, I do like to work with this one. And in my Ayurvedic work, I had somebody give me the nickname once, and it kind of stuck. But they called me Cobra because of the type of work I do when I'm doing body work. So, um, you know, I have these associations with cobras, and that's a tool I like to use. I think when you're doing any kind of extraction work, cord cutting work, it's important to have tools that you work with that maybe have some kind of personal meaning to you, or you attribute a certain power to them, maybe because of who gifted them to you, or how you obtained them, or just that you've worked with them for a long time. And anything can be a good cord cutting or extraction, tool. It can be a stone, that has a nice, has a nice kind of even rounded point to it would work. It can be a gua sha can be used in this way too. You could have a special gua sha that kind of becomes your medicine piece that you use for doing cord cutting extraction work. It can be something you find, when you're on your nature walks. It can be a shell, a scallop shell that you find at the beach. Like, open your mind to what could be your tool for cord cutting and extraction work. These are a couple that I have shared here. I'm telling you, I'm really drawn to the angels too. You could use a feather. You could use a feather. Okay. So it's really about tuning in to what speaks to you, and also the type of release work you're doing. What kind of energy is it calling for? And that can lead you to the kind of tool to use. I also have a Kartika Vajra, which is sometimes you'll see Kali holding a Kartika Vajra in art depictions, and it was 80 years old and antique, and it came from the Himalayas. My dear friend Cameron brought it back for me from the Himalayas. That's all I wanted. I wanted a Kartika from that part of the world to do my Panchakarma work with, and I don't have it with me because I'm here just outside of Detroit now, but it's back in California. I'll be reunited with it someday, but that's kind of a traditional tool that would be used, would be a Kartika Vajra. But really, you can use anything. But the first and foremost thing is that you're certain that you're really ready to let the energy go, and also that you're ready to return anybody's energy that you're holding on to. I find with really stubborn, resistant cords that those are usually in connection to a need for also doing some soul retrieval work. And if you're not familiar with soul retrieval, I encourage you to do some, do some research on it. Look it up. If you've kind of gone through your life and you notice that after a certain event went down, certain experience you had, maybe something traumatic, you never quite felt like yourself again. You felt very different than you did at that time, and there was this like sense of disconnect. Chances are you may need soul retrieval work. So it's something very helpful to explore. Um, can you call back your own soul? Yeah, I absolutely believe you can call back your own soul parts once you know how to do that. So I don't know if that's something that you all are interested in too. Maybe we can do some videos on soul retrieval, but a lot of this stuff goes hand in hand. But anytime we're looking at reuniting with ourselves, feeling whole again, and releasing others' energy from our space, this kind of work comes into play. And the most important thing is that you're actually ready. And so there does require this um, need to look at how you become attached to the attachment. It goes pretty deep. A lot of people feel resistance around cord cutting. And I have actually worked with quite a few people who didn't know if they wanted to cut the cord because they felt like, well, will that mean that that person's not going to be part of my life anymore, or there won't ever be a chance for healing? Or no, absolutely not. If somebody is meant to be um, part of your path down the road, they will be. But never, it's never healthy to have energetical attachment like that. You know, it's never healthy to be corded into another person in that way. That's a codependent dynamic. So you want to be in your own energy, you know. You want to make sure that you're keeping your house clean. That's like super important. So if you're feeling resistance to doing cord cutting work or release work, or if you're finding it really hard to let go, you know, of somebody that you've been having some challenges with, and you know it's time to let it go, it's really about being compassionate with yourself, but also diving into that and having a look at why that attachment is there. How is it serving you? Because in some way it is. You're getting something out of it. It can be just an excuse that keeps you from going forward and stepping into your power, which may be a little bit scary, you know, because it means things are going to have to change. You know, being accountable can be kind of intense, you know, especially when you've been, you know, sort of giving your power away and making excuses for a while. It can go really deep, you know, and I've done this kind of work on myself. And so I'm not coming from a place of anything but love and understanding when I share this stuff here. It's not always easy to hear. It's not always easy to look at the ways that we can be very attached to our suffering or very attached to our anger. You know, we don't want to look at that stuff. It's not pretty. You know, it's ugly to look at that stuff. But hey, you know, this is me too, Pac-Man. You know, that's there too, and this too, you know. We all have a shadow. So that's what I would say first of all. And for those of you who are going through Panchakarma this week, if you know you're not quite ready to cut a cord this week, that's okay. You can do so later into the process. You know, please listen to where you're at. You know, don't push anything beyond what you're ready to do. But if you feel like, no, I am ready, I'm ready to dive into that, I'm offering this as a support to help guide you through it. Okay. So you know you're ready, you know you're ready, you know, and to be truly ready means not only wanting to clear that individual or that experience, that place and time, that trauma out of your space, your physical body, your energy body, you know, but also that you are willing to return their energy to them. Because chances are, since you've been courted like that, you've probably formed an unhealthy attachment to the energy. It's just the way it works. It becomes codependent in nature. So make sure you're holding some space for that. And if you arrive at the place where you're really like, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to cut this cord, I know what I need to let go of, I want to clear it from my space, then it's really about, you know, pick your tool, connect with your tool. It's nice if it's something that has some kind of point, and it doesn't have to be sharp, okay? It can be something just like, it can be rounded, you know? I mean, hey, I'm you know, I'm on a very eclectic path. So prabhava, as we say in Ayurveda, you can make anything work. You could use a pen, you know, really. This has a point, you know. You could use a pen, okay? It's nice if it's something that feels, particularly um, sacred to you, like if it's a power object to you, just because naturally you're going to imbue more power in it. But hey, you can make this pen powerful too. You can make this pen powerful, and after you do this work, you use this pen to do all your like deep writing, man. Maybe you write a story that, brings about some kind of healing and transformation for others with this pen after you do this work with it. So maybe it does become a power object, keep your mind open, anything's possible. So once you have the intention, okay, and you're ready and you've connected with the tool that you're going to use, I just kind of wanted to explain how you do this actual release work so you can carry it out for yourself. And it is most effective if you carry it out for yourself. It really is, because it means so much more that you are actually showing through action. Remember, Panchakarma is 5 actions of purification. By you taking this up and doing it for yourself, rather than going and seeing somebody who could do it for you, it carries so much more power, so much more potency. Okay. So I encourage you, when you are doing this work, to really create, a space that feels very respectful for the work that you're going to do. It's wise to always do some purification of the space. Smoke cleansing is nice. I love frankincense, myrrh. Copal is particularly beautiful for doing this kind of work, because copal is very much connected with the heart. It's very much connected with love. It has a certain soft quality to it, even as it is very strong and rooted. Okay. You can also bring in different warding stones into the space to really hold the energy down. Maybe put a warding stone in each of the 4 corners. You can have one for the north, one for the east, one for the south, one for the west. You can even have one in the center with you, and you can pick, strong stones like obsidian, hematite, uh, red jasper, tiger's iron, bloodstone. Very, very powerful to work with. Howlite too. Howlite's really nice as well. You could bring in plants too. You could put something in each of the, 4 quarters, that holds the energy down, holds your intention down. And there are no rights or wrongs, okay? It's about what speaks to you. It's about what speaks to you. You got your own magic inside of you. You got your own magic inside of you. No matter what your spiritual tradition is, you got your own magic inside of you. And you got the magics of your ancestors inside of you. So let them speak to you, Let them guide you. You know what you need, talk to them, ask them to help you, ask them to support you, ask them to guide you to the right stone, the right plant, to hold the space, to hold it down, the right herbs to, smoke the space with, cleanse the space with, the right resins. Really just create the sanctity of that space, though, that you're doing work that it's important to honor the work that you're doing. It's important to honor the work that you're doing. Have your tools gathered in your space so you have everything you need. Okay. And you can put on some music too. I think shamanic drumming is really nice because it moves you into that kind of headspace. It helps you move into that headspace of deep listening, deep sensing, the instinctual body. And that's going to help you a lot. Some of you might already know where the cord actually is, Some people are really in tune with that. Some people might need a little bit more help. And tuning in with something like shamanic drumming. It's a very simple way to get yourself centered in that space where you can really lean in and feel into the body where this cord is, where you can bring in the visualization along with the sensing, because that's really what it's about. You're using your inner vision to find out where this cord is, where is it attached, where are all the points that it runs throughout the body. Sometimes they spread out, it's not just one cord. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole network of cords here. But there's usually one main, like, insertion point, and that's the root. And that's why I say, forget cord cutting. You cut a cord, you still got the insertion point is still, it's still plugged into the insertion point. It's that energy. There's still a remnant of that energy in your body. Like, why would you want that? So I'm all about extraction work, extraction work. And that's what we're gonna go into with this here. So, set the tone, create the space. You're creating space for actually honoring this letting go. You're creating ritual space for letting go, for releasing, for returning energy, and also to receive the gift of having your energy returned. Because remember, it's a codependent dynamic. That energy runs both ways. So when you return that energy, you're going to feel energy rush back into you as well. You're going to feel different. It's going to shift things for you. You may have emotional release. Okay, just want you to know before you do this work, if you've never done this kind of work, you may have emotional release. You may feel emotional for a few days. You may feel like you need to rest more. You may feel more tired. You may, sometimes people feel like, whoa, like a little disoriented, depending on how long that cord has been with them, how deep it ran, or what it was connected to. It can be potent. So I would really say, be gentle with yourself. If you want to rest. If you feel a little like, oof, I went way out there with that. If you feel a little bit like you need some grounding, go sit with a tree. Go sit on the roots of a tree. Rest your back against its trunk. Let it hold space for you, and just send everything down through the root system of that tree. Merge your roots with the roots of that tree, and just let it carry that energy down into the cauldron of the core of the earth for you, to transmute that energy and return it to you in a sense of connection, feeling held, feeling strong, feeling supported, feeling rooted into the very core of the earth. You'll come right back down to where you need to be. Okay. So, make sure you're drinking lots of water, keep your cleansing going, keep your purification going. You might want to bring in some lemon into your water. Lemon is very good for purification. Helps keep things flowing, and we're also going to be bringing in a spiritual cleansing bath to be in alignment with that full moon for this Panchakarma. And that is our culmination day. So that would be a wonderful time to do your cord cutting. And I actually really encourage you to do this cord cutting. Those of you in Panchakarma who are going to proceed with this, I encourage you to do it on full moon. It's a very powerfully supportive time to do it, with the full moon being in Pisces. We got all of that cleansing energy there to support us, and all of the beautiful, beautiful, energy of that. It sounds strange, but I'm going to say it. Like, we never refer to Mercury retrograde as beautiful, but I feel like it's actually a beautiful energy in this case. Mercury goes retrograde in Libra on that full moon, on the 10th, on that full moon in Pisces. And I see it really beautiful because I feel like it's like cleansing karma. That's what I feel, and sometimes you do need to look back at the past and view things in a new way. I feel like there's like this cleansing of perspective that comes. There's this full circle moment that comes with this particular full moon and its connection to that Mercury retrograde in Libra that starts then. And it's beautiful, because that Mercury retrograde cycle ends in Virgo, and ends on October 2nd in Virgo. I mean, we always have our post shadow and all that action, but I really feel it's like, no, this is for our cleansing. We're, clearing up our karma. We're closing a very important karmic cycle collectively. All of us are. All of us are. Okay. I really want to get away from this talk about, oh, this person's karmic. And I, there's just so much like judgmental crap around all of that. There really is, and it really creates a feeling of division, and it nurtures some really ugly traits in the human race, with this uh, dividing people up into you're karmic and you know I'm evolved, whatever, if you're that evolved, you don't need to be in a physical body anymore. You would have transcended this experience. You wouldn't even be here right now. It's like if we could all just kind of have a little bit more compassion for people's challenges, maybe some people do, blow it a lot or whatever, but they're learning and we're all interconnected. So we don't have to make space for people who are, difficult or acting out of their destructive behaviors or dysfunctional patterns. We don't have to hold space for that. But to kind of go into this like judgmental, holier than thou, like they're a karmic and I'm this. It's just I don't know. I find it kind of funny, actually. I mean, I find it a little ironic to be talked of in such ways in spiritual communities. Like, okay. Maybe cut the cord to that shit. That's a good thing, really. Okay, but I digress. I digress. Once you've created this space for this work, uh, this is such a supportive time to do it because I feel like the energies are really aligning for that. Yeah, we got a retrograde cycle. Everything's like a retrograde. It's like good, good. Let's get it done. Let's get it done in one fell swoop. Let's let it all come back around the bend. Let's hold it in a new way. Let's hold it with compassion, with not judgment. Can we get out of the story? Can we get out of blaming? Can we look at what is needed and can we get down to the root of it and extract it so the light can get in where the wound used to be? That's what it's about. So any way that you can get into the space where you can really scan your body, feel in, lean in to where that insertion point is with cutting the cord is going to be very helpful. So that can be any kind of meditative music like that shamanic drumming, or maybe you want to work with a particular hertz frequency. It can be meditation, it can be breath work. We each have our own ways. So whatever helps you go into that place where you can drop into your body and get in touch with the cord that you're releasing. What are you releasing your attachment to? And then what you want to do is you want to feel into where do you feel the energy in your body? Where is the sensation in relation to this person or this situation or this trauma or this time and place that you are releasing this cording around? Where is it located? Is it in your belly? Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your left knee? Do you feel it in the palm of your hand? And we're going to use the palm of my hand because I just want to show you how you would go about this. Okay. And I'll go ahead and we'll use the little Cobra for this one just so you can see on the palm of my hand here. All right. So let's say I created the space, I came into my center. I got in touch with what I'm releasing. I've leaned into it. I scanned my body. I saw where the insertion point was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right here in the center of the palm of my hand. What I would do is I would go into a meditative space. So I would likely do this with my eyes closed. I'm not going to close my eyes right now because I need to see what I'm doing to show you all. But I would close my eyes so I could stay connected to the visualization. So I could see all the little trundles and all the little places that root is attached. And I would go. And as I'm visualizing it, I would go around and get up under that root with my tool. And you'll feel it. You'll feel it deeply, not just superficially because you got something that you're working here. You will feel it deeply when you're doing this kind of work. And I'm telling you, you don't have to have any special skills, okay? Just the intention that, yes, you're ready to release it. You call on your spiritual helpers, whoever your spiritual helpers are, whether they're the angels or your ancestors or the orishas or a particular god or goddess, or even just your higher consciousness, whatever it is, connect with your spiritual helpers, ask them to help you, ask them to help you locate it, ask them to help you remove it, So you just go all in. And as you're doing this, you'll be seeing in your mind's eye, oh, yep, wait, I see it comes down and it hooks into the pad of my thumb there. Okay, let's go ahead and just lift that little tendril. And you would go all the way around your palm, okay? Or wherever yours is for using my palm. And then I like to kind of envision like wrapping it around the tool that I'm using to pull out. And then take a deep breath in. And when you blow the breath out forcefully, start to pull it. Now you're going to notice when you start to pull it up that there's like this resistance point. So every time you encounter the resistance, you deep breath in and now if you're releasing something you have a lot of anger around, you can use Kali tongue as you're pulling this thing out, and you can get vocal. That is very effective. It helps move the energy. Now, at this point, as you're pulling it out, this is when you may start to feel emotional. And I want to prepare you for certain reactions you might have so you don't feel like something's wrong, okay? Sometimes people feel like shaking in their body. It's almost like, I like to call it like a soul rattle. It's like your soul is rattling around in there as it's coming back to life. Rattles are used as a form of cleansing in many different traditions. Get yourself a rain stick or a rattle and shake it all around your body or all around a room where there's heavy energy. You will feel the way it breaks it up. So sometimes that happens internally. We also have, the internal Kundalini energy too, is a transformational energy. And it's interesting that the serpent energy came in there too. So you may not realize, especially if you had any cording, really, inserted into your womb space, how much this could have been affecting, the flow of your Kundalini or really coming into your creative power. Okay, so allow it to shake things loose, allow it to shake things loose. You may let out audible cries. You may want to howl. You may just want to do Kali tongue. But use the breath and use your voice, use the throat chakra to, expel it. And you just pull and pull until you see every little connection point of it come out. And once you got it, you throw it to the west. because the west is where the ocean is. Or you could do the east, okay? But it's the west. Traditionally, it's the west because west is associated with the element of water. But if you feel really intense connection with the East Coast waters, you could do that too. There's no rules, okay? But you're energetically sending it to the ocean to be cleansed and purified, okay? And then you want to take your tool, all right, and get a bowl of rice, or you can use cornmeal, any kind of grain, and you plunge the end of it in there and you leave it overnight. Next day, you release that grain or rice to the earth, okay? Don't throw it in the garbage, all right? And definitely do not eat it because it absorbed the negative energy, okay? And you want to earth the energy. You want to ground that energy. So you pulled out your cord and you're like, okay, now what? Be gentle with yourself, okay? Let yourself have any emotions you need to have. A cleansing bath will be wonderful for those of you doing the cleansing bath on full moon that I'm going to bring in for this Panchakarma. And make sure you're just gentle with yourself. Get extra rest. Do whatever you need to do to give yourself a sense of comfort. But I definitely encourage you to take it easy. Don't do anything wild. Like, don't go out and, go to a party after you've done this kind of work. Hold the right space for it. Maybe have something nourishing to eat or something warm to drink, like some golden milk would be really nice, or a really yummy, chai, something like that. It just kind of like feels nurturing to the body. It can be really good. And do not be surprised if the insertion point is actually physically sore for a few days. It shocks a lot of people, but I'm telling you, it's all interconnected. What affects your subtle body, your energy body, absolutely affects, your thoughts. It affects your emotions. It affects what presents physically in the form of dis-ease in your body. So you may notice this feeling of like soreness. So, do what you would do with a wound, right? What would you do with a wound? You would dress a wound. So maybe, wear something cozy, you know, wear something cozy, have blankies you can, curl up in. You might also rub some cream on a wound. So, maybe give yourself some abhyanga with a nice warm oil, just get some oil on your body that'll also calm your nervous system. You would cleanse a wound, right? So you can do as many energy cleaning baths as you want. And a very simple one is just 2 cups Epsom salt or sea salt and 2 cups baking soda in a drawn bath and soak for 20 minutes, and you'll have your energy all free and clear. It's so good. That's an old Edgar Casey remedy, and it's so, so effective for just giving you your energy back. So, rely on baths, rely on any kind of cleansing that helps you. You can have a pot of water, simmering on the stove with lots of rosemary in it. That's a good, kind of purification herb to, have in your space. Also really holds kind of a container of like love around you. It's protective, but it holds the container of love around you. So that's beautiful energy to bring in. And then I also encourage you to symbolically offer something to the earth along with that rice. It can be a personal item of yours is good, and something that maybe isn't easy to let go of. Something that you're like, oh, I really don't want to let go of this ring, or I really don't want to let go of this this little statue, or it can be this crystal, okay? And you also give that away, when you return the rice and the grain to the earth. You also release this too. Make sure if you're giving it to the earth, though, that it's something that's not going to be bad for the environment. Otherwise, you can go and give it away to somebody, Maybe even give it to a stranger, or just give a stranger this gift. If you're giving away a piece of beautiful jewelry or something, it might be a kind of a special moment, but it's symbolic of you're giving that person their energy back. And this item you're giving away is representing their energy that you've been holding on to. So it's a very powerful way to close this release work. And a lot of people skip this step. They think of themselves and they don't think of the ways that they might still be tethered into that person's energy. And actually, this can make these kind of workings incomplete in some cases. So it's so essential to follow through with this kind of work. And I will be bringing some stuff in down the road where I'll actually create videos that will lead you through processes like this, and you can just follow along at home and receive. And I'm excited to do that for you all. But this one is really about you diving in and taking the reins and freeing yourself, because the power is all inside of you. It's all about you. And you don't need an intermediary, man. You don't need an intermediary between you and spirit. Like, you are always connected. You got a direct line, anytime you want. But it helps to have these tools and these methods, and these are methods that have been used for many moons, and the people who came before us, like, they knew what they were doing. And these are gifts that got passed down to us, and we can use them too, and preserve these different traditions for future generations to come. So really cool to pass this on. And this is the way you pass on most of this stuff, is through oral tradition. It's not like written down in books. And it's more like you sit around and you talk about it. So I really enjoyed dropping in with you all tonight. This is kind of a little different from other stuff that I've done on this channel, but I just really felt compelled to bring this piece in. And I hope that you get something of value from it and it serves you well. Sweet release to all of you.